Greetings, people of the light. Tamaku, Thokozani, Namaste, Hutepe, Tsau, Siyavusela. We welcome you all to this channel, Umkhanyiselwa, the Light Worker. In this video presentation, we're going to be talking about African spirituality in its true definition and what it entails. And after this video, you should be able to understand the basis of African spirituality, clearly define African spirituality, understand the fundamental beliefs behind all African spiritual systems, realize the oneness of all African spiritual systems, and accept African spirituality as one of the oldest or original spiritual systems of this world. So we begin here. What is African spirituality? African spirituality is a way of life. It is a way of living. It is a state of being. And it largely consists of what is called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means humanity in a general sense, since Umuntu is a human. So by definition, Ubuntu means the way of the human. The word Ubuntu is also associated with being humane, being kind, being righteous. Hence, when a person is kind to another, we say in Zulu, unobuntu, meaning he or she is humane. Right? Therefore, Ubuntu or Isintu is a Zulu name for African spirituality. In fact, Isintu is the correct Zulu name for African spirituality. And it is also connected, it is associated with the virtues of humanity, the good deeds, the righteousness, or what we call ubulungiswa. Ubuntu is the belief in the goodness of all. Hence, it is a way of life, a way of living harmoniously with all living creatures. Ubuntu is love and respect for all things in creation, whether seen or unseen. It is an understanding that all things are connected in oneness. Umkhulu Vusamazulu, in one of his videos called The Voices of Africa by J.J. Hatek, one of the first things he says in that documentary is that in Africa, in fact, I think this is the opening statement. He says, in Africa, we have always striven to create a perfect human being. That is very, very important because it provides a clear understanding of what African spirituality is all about. Creating a perfect human being beyond all varieties of traditions, customs, rituals, ceremonies, gods and goddesses is the basic practice of living in perfect balance with your surroundings. This working towards creating a perfect human being is the work of Ubuntu or Isintu, the art of human perfection. Now, because all African languages are encoded with hidden information like double meanings, the word Ubuntu or Isintu can also be broken down further to reveal the truth behind what we loosely call African spirituality. The word Ubuntu reveals that this word is connected to the African goddess called Ndu, right? This Ndu is also called Antu in the Sumerian tablets. This Ndu is also called Nut in Egyptology, although that is a mistake, it's a mispronunciation. In Africa, there is no such word as Nut, but we do have Ndu, right? And she is the cosmic mother of all things in creation. And so in these terms, when we say ungumuntu, we don't only mean that you are a human, but we also mean that you are an offspring of the cosmic mother Ndu. You are a person created by the great mother Ndu. If we say uphila isintu, in this case it would mean that you are living according to the ways of the mother, Ntu, the great mother. And all the definitions of this same word, Ubuntu, are pieces of a puzzle that are necessary in order to get the full picture of African spirituality, which largely has to do with perfecting the human state, guys. All tribes in Africa had this common goal of creating perfect humans. When you understand this, then you'll understand the reason why so many tribes had very, very strict tribal laws which had to be obeyed. The goal was to create a perfect civilization with perfect humans. Anything that was an obstacle to this goal had to be removed and dealt with immediately, right? Therefore, I would like to propose that Ubuntu is actually the earliest form of alchemy, Hermeticism, chemitology, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, and all forms of spiritual systems or all forms of religions. Because if you study the objectives of all religion in this world, you'll find that they are all pointing towards what we call Botu. Now we are talking about the major religions, the religions of light, right? They are all pointing towards what we call Botu or Ubuntu, perfecting the human being. And Africans have always been obsessed with creating perfect human beings. For example, there is a video here online on YouTube. I just forgot who made that video or who uploaded it, but this video is an interview. This guy is interviewing this other elder from South Africa. So this elder is talking about a tribe called the Nguni tribe, and he says that Nguni is a misspelling because Nguni, Nguni, is what the tribe is called right now, right? So that is a misspelling. The correct word, according to this old elder, very wise, is Ngoni tribe. Ngoni, the Ngoni tribe. Instead of Ngu, it's Ngoni, right? Abangoni. And the word Ngoni means righteous ones. So when we have a tribe that call themselves Abangoni, it means they are a tribe of righteous ones, them who are without sin, right? And so this is but one example that shows us that Africans have always, all tribes in Africa have always obsessed with this thing of trying to perfect the human state, bringing Ubuntu to this world. And everyone keeps echoing the fact that all major religions of this world originate from Kemet, Kemu. It's true. And it is also true that Kemet or Kemu started here in Southern Africa. Even ancient Kemetic text confirms this. So if we're going to talk about Ubuntu as an ancient knowledge system, then we must be prepared to accept Ubuntu as an earliest form of spirituality, predating any system known to man. And yes, traces of it can still be found to this day all over world religions, right? Although Ubuntu is not a religion, and it's not like religion. You don't practice Isintu on Sundays or Saturdays only to go back to your daily living on Monday or whatever. It is a way of life. It is a day-to-day thing, a way to live. It is the art of living. Isintu is a direct interaction with spirit that happens on a daily basis, right? Ubuntu or Isintu also entails a belief in the higher source, a higher power from which all things were created, right? In Zulu, we have God the Father, uNkulunkulu, and God the Mother, uNomkhubulwane. Together, they have a son, Mfihlo1, God the Son. This is the threefold aspect of the Supreme Spirit, uKhulukhulwane, right? And this concept of the Trinity is common throughout all of Africa. For example, in Kemet, the Trinity, there, although there were many triads in Kemet, but the basic or the most common Trinity there is made up of Asa, the Divine Father, Oset, the Divine Mother, and Heru, the Divine Son. And all these words, Asa, Oset, and Heru, they are not African words. They are not real words, actually. They do not exist. I'm sorry to say this. But there is no such word in Africa as Heru or Asa or Oset. But there are words, Ausal, and well, that's another topic for another day. Anyway, Ubuntu also entails a belief in spirit, right? Because according to Isintu, there is a hierarchy of spiritual beings standing between us and God. No. And this is just in a figurative sense. These spiritual beings have different functions that they perform, right? Isintu also says that a person, each and every person, has a spirit, and this spirit is immortal. This spirit we call Itong. But this is is also another lesson on its own. I'm also going to do a video on this. And then there's a belief in the nature spirits. It is but part of the great belief is in a belief that nature is alive and conscious like us is common among Africans everywhere. We know that nature is alive. We talk to nature. In fact, Ubuntu is a way. Ubuntu also teaches us how to interact with nature, and nature spirits. Ubuntu is also a realization that we are one with God and our ancestors. They live in us and we live in them. And when you have perfected Ubuntu, the ancestral memory encoded in your DNA will be activated, and you will experience this reunion with God and your ancestors and nature and everything in creation. And then this is when you will remember who you really are. Ubuntu is an upliftment towards this level of consciousness. Because generally when we do good, we feel good, and when we do bad, we feel bad. So when we practice Ubuntu, we actually lift up, or we raise their consciousness to higher states. And in so doing, we move closer to God and our ancestors. And this on its own is enough to activate spiritual gifts. It is enough to bring good fortune. It is enough to clear your paths. It is enough to provide spiritual protection, because your ancestors, your guides, and Itong will be closer to you, right? So Ubuntu is the gateway to the transcendental, the source, because it has the ability to make you experience God, gods, and the ancestors directly in oneness. But before this can happen, Ubuntu requires us to constantly make choices that create harmony in our lives and in the world. It requires us to let go of the bad and strive towards the good. It is, I don't like using this word because it also doesn't exist, but it is a constant self-observation and evaluation, the path of righteousness, leading to self-realization, ukuzazi, ukuzikhumbula, right? We have come now to the end of the session today, and if you like this video, feel free to click on the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because we will be revealing more mysteries, guys. We'll be revealing. You can also follow us on our Facebook page, and yeah, in closing, since we are celebrating Africa Month, I wrote a piece and I would like to share it, right? So yeah. And the poem goes something like this. Yes, America is a world on its own, but Africa is a universe. You look at it and you see countries, but I see galaxies. You see capital cities, but I see stars. You see people, but I see planets. Moving involuntarily through non-orchestrated movement, not knowing where they are going, but knowing where to begin and henceforth where to end. Though the cosmic consciousness contained therein shines on the path of the traveler, in here you encounter the strangeness of life, clothed in crimson robes, dribbling understanding with mystery. It is a place where planets revolve and begin to evolve while suns dissolve, galaxies spiraling confusion as constellations condense to dwarf the giant sleep. Shh! Do not disturb Orion's sleep, as he slumbers beneath the surface of Africa's deep. For his prophesied awakening might just not be the result of a superstitious cheat, for it is said that the day he awakens, he shall give life to the dead, and his light code rippling vibrations will spread throughout the whole universe. See, Africa is an intergalactic amusement park where access to basic living is for the few, like student cards, brothers with 9mm pistols acting as shooting stars. Children are like moons. They stick around their planets for a while, raising its tides from time to time, then moving out of orbit when attracted by greater forces. This universe is forever morphing, and its origin is in its center. Enter this paradise of a misery that denies comfort. If the world was a spiritual place, then Africa would be its hotspot. Because in here, connectivity is stronger, signal receptivity lasts longer, and its bandwidth activity is much broader. Africa is a virgin mother giving birth to sons and daughters created in her likeness. It's right here and quite clear that the so-called American dream is actually Africa's nightmare, as she was a virgin who became a single mother after being raped for 665 years. And I might stop counting this year, because the next might incite fear.